Sorelle's recycling video is hurting the environment as much as Jamie Oliver is hurting Asian cuisines. She acts like she knows what she's talking about, but at the end of the day, it's all just a bunch of
organic grocery store whole food bullshit.
But the problem is, there are a lot of people who believe her. This is Sorelle's third most viewed video with over 2 million views and over 9,000 comments. The most representative of the comments was, "I always knew it was a lie." And one guy even wrote, "Thank goodness it's a scam. Being responsible is tiring. Glad I found a reason to be lazy." Now, the question is it true? Is the $200 billion industry really a scam? Well, I can't give you a definite answer, but I can fact check Sorelle's video to see if there are any biases. And within the first minute of the video, we can see that she is clearly biased against the video.
Well, the history of plastic and recycling it is a very deep rabbit hole, but also a very disgusting one, filled with lies, deception, and greed.
Believe it or not, that language that she uses to describe recycling is actually not a fact. It's just an opinion. But what it does do is it paints recycling in a sinister picture that she builds up throughout the video. And personally, I'm not naive enough to believe that all companies are good and they won't lie to their customers. Call me cynical, but if my wife is already taking advantage of me, it just makes sense that strangers who I don't know is more likely to take advantage of me. Her next two evidence were about the oil company's advertisements.
They took out full-page ads in magazines and newspapers, encouraging people not to use reusable items, telling us that single-use disposable items were the way of the future.
Is it wrong for companies to want their consumers to buy more of their products? If it is wrong, then I should sue McDonald's for making me fat. If she means that only harmful products shouldn't be allowed to create ads, then what about alcohol? Alcohol is bad for you, and people who drink alcohol are more likely to commit crimes. Should we ban alcohol ads just like how we ban cigarette ads? In my opinion, Sorelle would be against this. I mean, look at her, eh? She probably drinks more wine than water. And in the second clip,
the plastic industry put together a series of ads blaming consumers for single-use plastics, saying that they were the ones responsible for plastic pollution because it was us that was throwing these items away in the first place. For years, they spent millions of dollars on these new campaigns with the main aim of guilt-tripping the public into taking the fall, instead of taking responsibility for their own actions and the practices that had led us to this problem in the first place.
For this one, I actually agree with Sorelle. I can't believe the oil companies are actually blaming us for littering when they were the ones who made the products in the first place. If they didn't make so much stuff for us to use, then we wouldn't have anything to litter with. Okay? It's their fault that we are littering. How dare they blame us? Finally, after 4 minutes into the video, she finally talks about recycling. And her main point was that recycling plastic is a scam because most plastics can't be recycled.
These are resin identification codes, which were created by the plastic industry in 1988. Still today, almost everywhere on Earth, you will find these symbols on the bottom of almost every single plastic item you buy. And in most cases, they won't be recyclable. In reality, only the first two of the main 7 plastic resin identification codes are generally recyclable. Some of the remaining 5 can be recycled in certain circumstances.
Out of the 7 resin codes, only number 1, 2, and 5 are currently recyclable. But she also forgets to mention that number 1 is the most produced plastic in the world. Number 1 are mainly your soda bottles. Right? Number 2 are mainly your detergents and your milk jugs. Very few people recycle number 3, which are the PVC pipes, or number 6, which are the baby milk bottles. But let's say that she is right. Only 2 out of every 7 plastics can be recycled. Does that mean that you shouldn't recycle anymore? That's the same as saying most people aren't doctors, so you shouldn't become a doctor. Yeah, good luck telling that to your Asian parents. But honestly, her argument doesn't make sense. If you can only recycle 2 out of every 7 plastics, then shouldn't you recycle more of the plastics that you can recycle? Imagine if you fell into a deep hole, and that deep hole is being filled with poop. If you had no way of escaping and you could only throw out 2 out of the 7 gallons of poop that came in, would you give up and die quickly, or would you still spend time and energy to throw out 2 out of the 7 poops? I think the answer is obvious, but apparently it's not obvious to some people. So, what is Sorelle's solution?
Luckily for us, there is a simple solution on how to solve humanity's addiction to plastic, and that is to hardly use the stuff at all.
Yeah, she says that. But as you can clearly see, she is still using plastic, even though she is a multi-millionaire. So, if a multi-millionaire is still using plastic, then how should a regular person with no money stop using plastic? For someone in the finance space, her solution doesn't really make financial sense. The reason why plastic is everywhere is because it is cheap and convenient. I honestly do care about the environment, but I also care about my wallet. And my wallet is always the winner in every competition, except the ones with my wife. I do agree that plastic is a problem, but I don't agree with how Sorelle made the video. If she wanted to attack the plastic company, then attack the plastic company. Instead, she is attacking the recycling industry, which is trying to decrease the plastic pollution. This is extremely important because it allows you to buy more time to come up with better solutions or better recycling processes. Something like this. Called polydiketoenamine, or PDK, the material has all the convenient properties of traditional plastic while avoiding the environmental pitfalls, because unlike traditional plastic, PDKs can be recycled indefinitely with no loss in quality. And this was only created 3 years ago. Imagine what other solutions we can come up with if we just had more time. Recycling gives us that time. It's like how guys reuse underwear when they forget to do the laundry. The overall message is that recycling allows us to be dirtier longer. The right solution would be to either build more recycling centers or to limit the amount of plastics being produced. This video reminds me of when my dad told me that he loves me, right before he hit me with a stick. It just doesn't make any sense. If he really cared about me, why would he hit me? Similarly, if Sorelle really cared about the environment, why would she talk trash about the people who are trying to save it?